If you're a creative right now and you want to start off your video with a bang, you need to get this pack. Greatest Vault has released the Cityscape overlay pack. This is how I start off all of my videos. I love this pack because it instantly grabs your audience attention with a captivating intro. And on top of that, you can add a clip at the end for a seamless transition. Quick, simple, drag and drop. This works on any program. And it's transparent. And in case you didn't know, this pack is inspired by real life cities like Miami, Chicago, Atlanta, and much more. Not only we have a day version, we have a night version for creative flexibility. I've used this pack for YouTube videos, event videos, recaps, weddings, and much more. Check out our store Greatest Vault for 25% off if you're watching this video. You're not gonna regret it. Now, let's get to the video. The A7S3 has been out for nearly 5 years, and I think it's time to finally talk about this camera. First of all, the specs on this camera still hold up. In case you guys didn't know, I was a Panasonic and Canon user when I first started filmmaking. I transitioned into the Sony family around 2019, and honestly, I have no regrets. And around this time period, I was trying to find the best camera that works for me. And around this time period, I had the Canon Mark III, I had the Mark IV, I eventually went to the Panasonic GH5, and I just kept exploring with all these cameras until I found the one that worked for me. When the A7S3 came out in 2020 for the first time ever, I felt like I had a complete camera. I felt and still feel like this will be the same camera that I will be using for the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm going to tell you why. For me, this camera have everything that I personally need. As a Panasonic user, I felt like the GH5 was ahead of its time. Around this time period, this camera had variable frame rates. It had 4K 120, it had 4K 60, it had log. It had a lot of great things going for it. At a specific time period, when I switched to the GH5, I did a lot of night events. So my quality at that time period was just not looking very good. And it was to a point where a client kind of pointed out the stark difference between the other video that I did with my Canon 1DX and this video. I completely understood and I saw it. Fast forward, the A7S3 got announced, and just seeing the specs for the first time ever, man, I just couldn't wait until it released. Long story short, this is one of the best cameras that I've ever owned. And if you guys could see this picture right here, yes, that's me just being so excited that I got this camera. And I love this camera, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I love this camera in particular. Everything about this camera just sold me. The color science, the 4K 60, the 4K 120 full frame, its amazing low light capabilities, and much more. I could go on and on about the specs of the camera, but I'm gonna tell you guys my personal reasons on why I think that this is one of the best cameras out there and why I still use this for more of my bigger productions. This is a budget friendly option. Usually when I get presented budgets from companies or artists for productions and I see an opportunity for me to explore this budget, I pitch having the A7S3 as our main camera. Love the Red, I love the Ari, Lord knows I love both of those cameras, but those cameras are not the most budget friendly cameras to use, especially if the budget is really small. With me having accessible funds, I can hire a crew, I can rent out some equipment to experiment with, I can even get a PL mount and just put some cine lenses on there, or anamorphics. Adding vintage glass to an already perfect camera just gives you the craziest cinematic look. I actually experimented with this on my latest video with Blue Nightmare long distance, and I feel like the results just speak for itself. Not only to add, but the color science on this camera is insane. The way I've been able to push colors so far over the years is crazy. This camera is often used as a B cam whenever anyone has a unique setup, especially with me using DaVinci Resolve. And this is just me critiquing myself. I'm not a colorist, I'm just being super honest. This camera or the FX3 actually have been used to play as B cams for very big projects. For example, if you have a shot where you're mounting this camera to like a door or a car, you can use this camera and match it to the Ari Alexa. With the color science being this good, it's very possible to do this. This camera is a return on investment. When I first got this camera, I purchased it for about $3,600 when it was released. If you're a videographer, we all have this itch in our body that makes us want to upgrade our gear and get the next popular camera that's coming out the following year. And for me, I just didn't see no purpose on upgrading this camera because this camera did everything I needed it to do. It's actually kind of funny because this camera is actually the reason why I didn't purchase the FX3. When you put this camera next to the FX3, you can see very small differences. I feel like it's just not enough to justify upgrading from this to the FX3. I feel like with the right tweaks, you can clearly make this camera look very similar to the FX3. For example, this is a music video where I'm using both cameras, where I had 2 shoot days where we had the FX3 rented out, and then I decided to shoot the second day with the A7S3. And in my personal opinion, I think this looks very similar. I don't think you can tell that this is used with the A7S3. On the video aspect, the FX3 is clearly the better version of the A7S3. This is honestly to me one of the best cameras that have stood the test of time for the last 5 years. I've done numerous projects with this camera and I have been able to push so much boundaries from event videos to big productions. But since you guys are still here, let me know what are you guys using in 2025. But other than that, it's your boy Greatest and I'm signing out.